Cloud. Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Patty McMahon. I'm the Outreach Director for Jefferson County Libertarian Party, and with me is Roth Klump. He is the chair for the Jefferson County Libertarian Party, and we have a surprise. We actually have a real candidate with us. Gavin, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Patty. Thank you, Jefferson County. My name is Gavin Kaszynski. I'm currently the treasurer of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and I am seeking, not re-election, I guess, since I was appointed, but I am seeking election at the state convention here in just a couple, coming right up on us. So I'm very excited. I took over the treasurer position from John Hirschman, who did it on an interim basis. The gentleman who was elected last year had to step down, and so John took over again. And then he really didn't want to do that, so they asked me if I would help. And so I trained with John, and he sort of passed the torch. And then the Libertarian Party of Colorado appointed me to that open seat. And so that's how I got the position that I'm in now. And I've really enjoyed it. It's something that I do professionally, I guess. So professionally, I'm the chief financial officer. I've been working in the healthcare space for about the past 10 years as a CFO of a primary care practice, a large primary care practice in northern Colorado. And then I was with an orthopedic practice in the sort of the western region. And then most recently, I was at Centennial Peaks Hospital that is in Louisville and was evacuated during those wildfires, the Marshall Fire. So that was a crazy, awful day when I got to, the CEO of the hospital actually left the day before the fires to go to a family funeral, unfortunately, out of state. And so he put me in charge of the hospital. Of course, you know, then the next day, the wildfires surround us and we have to evacuate the hospital. So it was an awful day to be in charge of a hospital, but we did get everyone safely evacuated, and the hospital looks like it'll be up and operational again here shortly. So, but that's been my life. I've been the CFO of organizations from 15 million in annual revenue up to 145 million in annual revenue. And so I think because of that experience, that's why I was asked to help out with the Libertarian Party. And that's why those are the skills that I bring to bear for this role. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, first, we want to say we couldn't be more thrilled that you're here, because Ross and I were joking that we have to be like the worst social media people ever, because we can't get anybody who's running for office to show up. So we were just assuming nobody was running for office. But one of the things we were talking about was how important it is to have people that are qualified in our board positions. And it sounds like you are very qualified for the position of treasurer, which Ross and I believe is a very important position. And I think you said something in a board meeting that I actually kind of wanted to touch on. Is I think you said something that you've actually grown into this position. I think it was you that mentioned that you're going to seek re-election because you've actually well, I'm going to say it's re-election, that you've kind of learned this position now, and that's why you were going to seek re-election. Were you the one who said that?
Yeah, probably, because that's sort of the way I feel. It's there's a matter of getting set up with the banks. There's a matter of getting set up with FEC-File, which is a federal election committee, and you have to get registered with that agency. There's a matter of getting set up with the Secretary of State for Colorado. So I don't want to say unlike every other position, but unlike most positions, there's just a lot of technical details that come along with it. They really don't have anything to do with libertarianism or freedom. They're just administrative responsibilities that come with the role. And that's sort of a big part of it. And so once the person who's going to be the treasurer is established in that way, then it's just a matter of learning the job and sort of seeing how you can improve the financial position of the party. And I feel like that's where I'm at now. So once the administrative piece is kind of behind me, I feel like I'm in a position now where I can really start to make a difference and do some good. And so I'm excited that I did hear some things about a person who's running for fundraising chair. I think we've got a ton of opportunity with fundraising. some of the fundraising things that we've done in the past have been just, I think, small thinking, and we need to think bigger. And so I want to start working with fundraising. I want to start working with social media to get more promotion out there, to bring more people into the party. I really think, I'm sure we all feel this and believe this, but I just really feel like the time for libertarianism is right now. People, especially with this war, people are so fed up with both parties, and how they're just walking in lockstep towards World War III. And we, the libertarians, I believe, represent a real difference from all of that. And so now's the time for us to really make a difference. And I think we've got, so I want to help do that. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. My ears perked up when you said somebody was running for fundraising director. And the first thing I thought of is, could you ask them to contact us? Because we would love to talk to them.
No kidding.
Ross and I apparently are the last people to know about anybody running for anything. Not that we didn't advertise these forums. I mean, apparently we're bad at advertising too. Ross and I need to take note of that. Ross, do you have a question for Gavin? Because I have tons of questions, but because we want to know about you, Gavin.
I don't know.
I guess the first question I have is, how did you learn about the Libertarian Party, and how long have you been with the Libertarian Party?
You know, I know a lot of people have a moment. For me, it was, oh, thank you, Steve.
Thank you,
for
Steve.
Me, it was, well, I grew up in Texas, and Ron Paul actually was my congressman for a period of time, although I didn't really understand his connections with the Libertarian Party. But so I've always been a fan of Dr. Paul. I think my connection through libertarianism kind of came in through the paleo-libertarian wing after the first Gulf War. I thought there was going to be a peace dividend after the Cold War. I thought we were going to start really focusing on, you know, even Bill Clinton, when he ran for president, said, now that we fixed the world, it's time for us to fix America. And I thought that's what we were going to do, but instead we just started going to war with everybody in the Middle East. And so, you know, when the war on terror started in 2001, I said, that's it, I've had enough. And I was just fed up with the Republicans and sort of the Main Street conservatism. And that's when I just jumped in with both feet to the Libertarian Party. So it wasn't like, you know, when Ron Paul ran for president, I was already on board. I know a lot of people sort of had a baptism moment, you know, in his debate with Rudy Giuliani, or, you know, really with the Ron Paul revolution. But I was on board well before that. Not that makes me special or better, but I just have been, you know, following it a little more closely since early 2000s.
Wow. Yeah, that's longer than me. I joined in 2016. And yeah, as from the Republicans also, but yeah, that's a long time. That's impressive.
Yeah, yeah, well, you know, 2016 has been a while too. I mean, so many people, the great thing about the party that I've seen, there's a lot of things that are really frustrating. But the great thing about it is that it's very young. We've got a lot of youth. And so I think there's something about that we really need to capitalize on. So 2016, Ross, you're as much of a grizzled veteran as I am. I mean, a lot of people have been with it for 2 or 3 years, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are veterans compared to me.
Yeah, what about you, Patty? What's your story?
Yeah, I came from the Democrats, so y'all don't want to talk to me.
No, I do. How so?
No, because this isn't about. I mean, I'm not running for anything, and yeah, I'm not. I'm actually really more interested in your qualifications because like Ross and I were talking about it. I actually vote on qualifications, and I like the fact that you're running on a platform that you're qualified, and I believe in hiring qualified people for jobs. So what I'm really interested in knowing is what do you think that you have learned in your position as treasurer that you believe benefits you walking into the job now, that a new person coming in, that there would be a learning curve that would not help us?
Hold on a second. So I'm going to start driving again. So I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to end the video. I'll just continue on the.
Okay.
And let me jump in the car real quick. Give me just a second, Patty. Sorry for.
No, that's okay. In the meantime, Ross and I will talk among ourselves, because we're just really excited that we have somebody here, right, Ross?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's interesting that Biden said he's going to fix inflation by fixing inflation.
Right, and we're talking to the treasurer. So this is a great day to have a discussion with the treasurer, since the president right now is giving his State of the Union address. And although we haven't heard it, apparently he's talking about inflation, which is interesting, because what an interesting topic, because I'm wearing my 1970s outfit, because it feels like the 70s, right, with inflation and gas prices and.
They have some gas lines too, like
Right. Yeah, out of control spending, but I'm glad our president is on top of it and addressing inflation, because apparently he's noticed that it's a real problem also. So good for him.
Yeah. The funny thing is how we got rid of it.
Oh, Gavin's back. Okay. So Gavin, what is as far as you came into the position as treasurer. And, and I'm sure you learned things. And so if somebody was to hire, was to elect somebody onto the board as treasurer that had never served as treasurer, what do you see as hurting the Libertarian Party of Colorado? How would that not benefit us?
Well, I guess I don't want to sound arrogant and say that it couldn't be done, but there are certain skills that I think you want in a treasurer. That are also the same skills that I possess as a CFO or an accountant, right? And not everyone is good at these things, but and again, you don't have to be a CFO to do it, but you've got to be able to reconcile bank accounts. You've got to be able to run financials, identify trends, figure out where you've got growth opportunities, and figure out where you need to manage your expenses a little tighter. With this party especially, there's a ton of activity right around this time of year with the convention. And so you've got to really be able to manage your cash flow and the expenses and, do those projections and budgets and that sort of stuff. So the sort of things that come along with finance or an accounting role. And it's just not everybody's strong suit. You don't have to be a professional in those areas to do it, but you do have to have some of those skills. Just the ability to work with banks. So we run the accounting system that our party's on is QuickBooks. It's a system that I've used in some of the roles that I've been in, and so it's an accounting software that I'm familiar with. If you're not familiar with QuickBooks, it's just going to be, a pretty significant learning curve. It's not a super complicated accounting package, but it's got its nuances, and it's certainly more complicated than Excel or something like that, And then there's all sorts of questions that come up. Hey, well, again, at this time of year, how much money did we make at the convention last year? How much should we plan to make this year? And you've got to be able to pull those reports out of QuickBooks and run those projections and kind of do that analysis. And so, again, you don't have to be a CPA to do that stuff. But if someone who's just got, very, say, pure libertarian ideas on freedom and anti-war and all the things that we believe in, but if you don't know how to balance a checkbook, you're not going to be a very good treasurer. If you don't know how to run financial reports and look at cash flow statements, you're just not going to be very good at this role. And I think it puts the party in a difficult position. And so that's why it's different from some of the other positions where there's some skills that the person needs to be able to bring to the office. and not just a certain ideology. A litmus test is important, but it's only going to get you so far for this role. Are you aware of anyone else who's running for the position?
No, we're not
Okay.
aware of anyone running for any position. We got blindsided because we thought Karen Aaron was running for secretary, and imagine our surprise when we found out she wasn't. Which we announced and we posted. We don't know if we're the only ones who knew that or not, but we posted it on our announcement from our interview yesterday when we had nobody show up for the secretary position. You're literally the first person we've interviewed.
Sorry, I didn't want to jump to something else, but did that help answer your question?
Yes, it did. I actually, because I have another question if Ross doesn't mind me asking it, because the next question I would have then is, with experience, because you're right, you bring up an interesting point about the treasurer being, it's more than ideology. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility attached. Is there liability that attaches to a treasurer? So if you're a treasurer for the Libertarian Party, do you have any liability that attaches in your role?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, and that's a great question, and thanks for bringing that up because it's tremendous. Now, the Libertarian Party, as it stands right now, and this is a public record, it's in our meeting minutes, so I'm not saying something that is confidential here, but we've got about $40,000 in the bank account. So you got to have a treasurer that you can trust, and that is not something that you can ask a million questions and not know the answer to that. You just got to see if you can glean that from someone's character and from a thorough vetting process. I tried to establish that trust by saying, look, I've worked with organizations that have millions of dollars of revenue, and so they trust me, and so you should too. But that's something I've got to prove, right? And
Right.
So I think that the key to that liability, and that's a tremendous liability. There's an actual legal liability also, but the liability that I'm most concerned about is, am I going to gain the trust of the party? And I do that by trying to be as transparent and as accessible as possible. So, for example, I'll give you a quick story. Can I stop? Can y'all go in so I can finish this discussion? Y'all have to listen to it. Yeah, let's do that. We had a fundraising event in December. There was a lot of questions about how the funds that came from that event were recorded to the Secretary of State, and there was some concerns about it, to be honest. And rather than let rumors start being spread about improper accounting or anything like that, I just called the people I said, who is it that's got these questions? And I just called them and said, hey, let's talk about this. Let me know what your questions are. I'm not going to say I'm always getting everything right, but I want to be able to explain myself, and here's why we did what we did. And I think once I had those one-on-one conversations with them, all those concerns went away. And so that's another way to develop trust with people, is to just be transparent and accessible. I don't want to sit in some ivory tower and refuse to be questioned because I'm not going to get everything right all the time. That's a big piece of it. So there's a liability, and I think the biggest liability is if people don't trust what you're doing, and if you are being secretive, especially with that amount of cash, literally cash sitting around, then the whole party is going to have a liability. You're not going to be able to do much of anything if there's just not that trust. But there also is a legal liability, and there's parties around the country, in different states, and Republicans and Democrats, people who just can't be trusted with money, and they, stories of embezzlement and that sort of stuff are just, they're a dime a dozen. And so there's actually legal liability also.
If I can just interrupt you a second. So
yeah.
What was the question about the December? What was the question?
Yeah. So what happened was there was the 50th anniversary of the Libertarian Party, and there were some
Yeah, I was
folks.
there. I was there. I was there. I was
Oh,
there.
were you?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Um,
That's why I was wondering. It's like, huh? I was there.
yeah. So originally there were some folks associated with the Mises Caucus who were going to rent out the Elks Lodge
Right.
and have a big event to do all that with. At the December board meeting, just like a week and a half before the event itself, it was decided that this is something that the Libertarian Party of Colorado should be associated with also. And so the Libertarian Party started promoting it. So it sort of officially became a LPCO event. But before that meeting, it was being run by just some individuals in the Mises Caucus. And so they had already collected like $1,000 just through their personal PayPal accounts, people who had paid and registered to show up for that. And so we didn't have any documentation of who had registered and who had not, because it wasn't until December 6th, I think, that the LPCO decided to get involved and host the event. And so how we accounted for that money was basically all the donations came from one person. And there was a person who originally was hosting the event, but it's all the individuals who registered did not get reported to the Secretary of State because it wasn't a libertarian event until December 6th. It was basically just a personal fundraiser. And they were going to use the funds to give to the Libertarian Party. But so that's what happened, is that some people they said, wait, what about this event on December 6th? Why aren't the 100 people or however many people showed up, why aren't they all showed up on the Secretary of State's report? And it's because we didn't collect money from them. This individual did. And then he gave all that money to the Libertarian Party. So it looks like one great big donation from a single individual. That's the way it shows up to the Secretary of State. And it's the only way that we could do it. It's the proper way to do it. And it's the only way that we could do it because we didn't personally collect money from those 100 individuals. Does that make sense?
No.
Oh.
Anyways, this isn't about that fundraising event.
I think I get it.
Yeah, well, I'll say this: the money that we collected, that was paid to the Libertarian Party for people to register, we reported that money to the Secretary of State, and the money that we collected at the event itself was reported it was accounted to the individuals to the Secretary of State. But the money that was collected, which was the majority of the money that was collected before December 6th, we didn't collect that money. It was an individual who did. And then that individual turned around and gave all that money to the Libertarian Party. And so from our accounting perspective, from the state's perspective, the only choice we had was to report that as a donation from an individual and not from 80 donations from 80 different people.
Well, I mean, because like I said, I don't think this is the proper forum, but I just want to say, it's like, because I was actually at that event, and now that you bring it up, it's like there wasn't a registration table at that event. I remember we just walked in, but now that I think about it, it's like, well, because I was there, I didn't pay. I was actually somebody's guest, but I know that person paid, and he paid $35 for himself, and he paid $35 for me. And no one actually ever checked to see whether or not we paid. How did you verify who paid and who didn't pay for that event?
Well, that's just it. We didn't have any record of who had registered. So
some people paid and some people didn't pay. I mean, some people got into that event free, and some people, I mean, I didn't think it was going to turn into this kind of a discussion, and I don't want it to, but it's like, now I'm kind of just curious.
Yeah, and it's because the party didn't get involved until December 6th. It was like, the event had already been planned. Everything had already been sort of, the die had been cast at that point.
Involved at the event. So, I mean, how did we know? Like,
yeah, certainly. It wasn't. It absolutely was not the right way to do it.
Question, I guess.
Yeah. Well, compare that to the convention that we're having.
Some people paid and some people didn't. I mean, like my date paid $70. so did everybody pay to go to that event, or did some people get in because they knew a guy?
I think it's entirely possible that someone showed up and ate pizza and had a drink and did not pay the registration. But that's something that the individuals from the Mises Caucus would have had to police, because they know who registered and who paid them through PayPal and who didn't. We didn't.
Wasn't there an event after? But I'm just thinking, because wasn't there an event after December 6th? Was the Libertarian Party of Colorado's event after December 6th, right? So wouldn't it have been the Libertarian Party who would have been policing that?
And there was a laptop there right when you walked in. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a laptop there for people to check in. Well, for those few people. Now, contrast that with what's going on with the state convention here in a week and a half. We've got everybody that we have been keeping track of that the entire time. So everyone who shows up for that, we're going to know if they've paid, how much they owe, what their balance is, what they signed up for. We're going to know all of it, because that's something that the state party's been managing all along.
Okay. Okay. Well, is the state, okay. So the state party is doing the whole convention.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So as a treasurer, this is interesting. This is kind of nuanced, right? So, sometimes this, and so let me ask you, this has happened often where like you have like something like the Mises Caucus and like another group joining in funds with the LPCO. Does that happen often?
Well, it's happened once since I took over the position in September. Could it happen again? Absolutely. If there's another group of individuals, if the Jefferson County Libertarian Party wanted to have a fundraiser and it looked like it was going to be really popular and successful, and you wanted to somehow use that to promote the state party, there's absolutely no reason why we wouldn't want to support one another.
Well, we can't take it to our board. Our candidates for board people. Ross and I are woefully ill-equipped. We can barely do anything. So
and I wanted to mention this earlier. So I'm on a couple. I don't do social media real well. I'm sort of a bit of an old fogey in that regard. But there are a couple groups, chat groups, and things that I'm on, and where I know that there's some candidates. I'll share this conversbe with them and encourage them to reach out to you, Patty, so that y'all can meet some of them as well, because they might be that they're just not familiar with it or aware of it, rather.
It's been on the LPCO website for 3 months, but I can understand why they wouldn't see that. Anyways, so Gavin, I want to watch time, and I know you're driving. Give us your best plug for you as treasurer, other than the fact that apparently nobody else is running against you. So far, and you're a CFO, and you handle millions of dollars, and you understand the bureaucracy, which I think is huge. And then you just pledge them. Then we're going to actually find a little bit about your personal life, right, Ross? Because that's always important. Yeah. So what's your best plug for yourself for treasurer?
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, and this is something that's new to me, but I think in all the times that people have, like when the vacant treasurer position was filled with me, and that was, even if it's if the person is unopposed, they also throw none of the above on the ballot. Nota, are you familiar with this process?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I am running against somebody. I'm running against Nota.
Ross, none of the above.
And I can tell you this, Nota is a piece of crap. I know this person personally. They can't balance a checkbook. They supported Bill Weld. They're war hawks, and they're just
Oh, you broke
despicable
up there.
sexual deviants. And so I absolutely Gavin over that scum.
Oh, no, Gavin, you broke up. You have to redo that because you broke up on all that. And I think you were really trashing Nota. Now we got some trash talk going.
Yeah.
Now we got a debate.
Nota can't bounce a checkbook. Nota's actually been thrown in prison for embezzlement also. Nota's a thief. So you just can't vote. You can't trust Nota.
Yeah, well, we've learned that Nota can wreck a lot of stuff. We've learned that over the last couple of conversations. Yeah, so. Yeah,
and I know that there's, well, you didn't ask this, but I'll volunteer it anyways, just so you, in the sake of transparency. I have been witness to some of these inter-party wars. The Libertarian Party is famous for its dysfunction in this regard. I have no tolerance for any of it. I certainly have the things that I believe in, but if someone wants to get in a fight with me over open borders or closed borders or whatever, I don't have
no, you're breaking up
patience for that sort of stuff. I'm sorry, patience isn't the right word. Oh shoot. Are you there?
Yeah, you're breaking
Okay.
up a little.
I have been trying to at the board, and Karen Ann's a good example of this. And I know she's been treated terribly by the National Party. And I really sympathize with her because I think she's been treated unfairly. But she also, I think, is, and I've told her this to her face, so this isn't like a big secret, and this isn't saying anything bad about her. But I just don't think we need to be getting involved in what's going on with the state party in Pennsylvania or Delaware or Massachusetts. There's dysfunction all over the place. And I think the best way that we can rise above all this is to just start ignoring it. So when all these little factions start going to war with one another, I think that we need to focus on the high.
No, you broke up. No, you're breaking up, Gavin. Oh my gosh. Gavin, everything you said
And when we focus on that higher vision, breaking up again. Oh, I'm really getting right when I was on now. Is that better?
Yeah,
Hello?
you broke up on, I think we need to focus on, and then everything else you said sounded like a bunch of vowels.
Yeah, so I think we need to focus on the higher vision, the higher mission. And like I said earlier on, now is our moment. And if we can't focus on that higher vision now, then there's no hope. I would hope that as a party, we can focus on that higher vision and have all these smaller problems just start to hopefully melt away. This dysfunction start to melt away. It's just not productive. And we've got to be focused on the message of freedom right now more than ever. And so I don't get involved in these inter-party battles. And when everyone's all upset at the state party of Pennsylvania for their misbehavior, whatever, I stay out of that stuff. And maybe I shouldn't, but that's my attitude. We've got more important things to be focusing on. I hope I didn't make any enemies by saying that, or maybe have y'all start supporting Nota because of my position there. But I just wanted to share with you what I believe. We're
libertarians. We fight over everything. You could have said it's dark outside because it's night and people would fight with you over that. So no, you're fine. Ross, do you have any questions?
I really can't think of anything. Yeah, it sounds like you're extremely qualified and have a lot of experience. And I definitely agree with you that with this faction stuff, most of the time, I mean, especially if it's something like Massachusetts or something, or something that involves a different state. But even in Colorado, I think it's better to focus on what needs to be done and not get involved in all these faction wars between.
Yeah, one other thing, and again, I'm not condoning the behavior or misbehavior of Massachusetts or Pennsylvania or the things that they're doing. It's awful. There's awful stuff happening all over the place. but here's just an example of the opportunity that this party has in the state of Colorado. Before, many years ago, a friend of mine became the chairman of one of the major political parties, let's say in Larimer County. Because he's a friend and because he knows what I do professionally, he asked me to be the treasurer. And so just as sort of a favor, I did that for 2 years. That, again, it's one of the major two political parties. That political party has a budget that is, the Larimer County, again, one county, has a budget that is 3 times the size of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. The county of that party, their annual budget was 3 times the size of Libertarian Party of Colorado's annual budget. And so we are really missing an opportunity here. And these factions and these little battles and these email disputes that people get in are a distraction from that opportunity that exists in front of us now more than ever, I believe.
That's a really good point, because the two major parties, a lot of times when they have somebody in a close House district race, the party can give them up to 17,400, I think it is, in funds, and a lot of times they'll get it from either the state or the county, and yeah, that's just an opportunity we're missing to help candidates out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, I'm not saying we should, that Libertarian's going to run the seat, win a Senate seat in Colorado this year, but we need to start winning school board seats, and we need to start winning city council seats. And you don't need $100,000 to do that. $5,000 makes all the difference for those candidates, and that's how you start building a bench and making a difference. So Ross, I'm with you 100% in that regard.
And so, speaking of political interest, tell us about, because I'm going to switch the focus over to family, because we can hear people in the background, and we know that you took your son to a high school tournament. Tell us a little bit about your family so that people can know you on a personal level. Are you married?
Oh, sure.
You have children, and apparently you have a high school child, which probably explains your interest in school boards.
Yeah, so I'm in the car right now with my wife. She agreed to drive so I could focus on this conversation.
What is your wife's name so we can say hello to her?
Her name is Jen. Here, hold on.
Say hi.
There you go. Say hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hi, Jen.
Yeah, so Jen and I have been married for 20 years. We had our 20th anniversary in November.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. She's far better than I deserve, and I don't know how she stuck with me for 20 years, but I'll take it. So, and we have 2 children. Nathan is he's a senior in high school, and we are driving back right now from the Broadmoor. He is a state officer for DECA, and they had their big, yeah. So they just had their big state tournament at the Broadmoor. They have it there every year, and it's a huge 4-day event. He's one of the state officers for that, so that was pretty exciting. He got to wear a tux, and he just really made his parents very proud.
So your son is politically involved also.
He is. Yeah, he's really business involved. He's really interested in business and entrepreneurship, and he'll be going to college next year at Grand Canyon University, and he's going to study entrepreneurship. And yeah, I've tried not to influence his political ideology very much, but he's a chip off the old block, I'd say.
Okay.
Also we have a daughter, Tessa. She's 13. She is a dancer. I think she's also going to be a stand-up comedian one of these days because she's hilarious. And she's a beautiful dancer. She dances for a studio, and she just, I'll confess to this. Every time I see her dance, it makes me cry. So I'm a sort of a softie in that regard for my daughter.
That is wonderful. Oh my gosh. Well, so you have two wonderful children, a wonderful wife, and that's great. I gotta tell you what, you bring in a great story, and you're a libertarian. So so you have a great story, and
The whole package, huh?
well, it is. It's the libertarian dream. You're living the libertarian dream. You know, so
It feels like it. I'm extremely blessed, and I've just been very, very fortunate to be surrounded with loving, supportive people my whole life. And so I'm glad that I'm in this position, and hope that I can do whatever I can to help the party.
that's awesome. And you know, Gavin, Ross here has been speaking on behalf of Nota for the last two meet candidates thing. So let's give Ross, because Ross has been the only person, he's had the floor for the last two meetings. I'm going to give Ross the floor for about a minute and a half. Ross, on behalf of Nota,
I want to hear
this. Go ahead and explain why Nota should prevail in the treasurer's race. That's awkward as heck, isn't it? But you're supposed to be running against, Nota's supposed to be running against Gavin. So give us a reason why we should elect Nota over a treasurer. Especially
if you want the state party to have tracer violations, Nota is a really good way to get that done.
Well, that was
almost
compelling.
guaranteed, almost a guaranteed tracer, at least a couple of tracer violations until they find somebody else to take it, which could take a while actually. Treasurer, being serious, treasurer would be one of the worst positions to have Nota win. Because that and the state chair are probably the two most important state board positions. I mean, some of the others you can kind of get away with having them vacant for a while, and it's not the end of the world, but definitely not treasurer. So
treasurer would be the end of our world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be that is, and for county affiliates too, it's an extremely important position.
Well, so this is where we've talked about the difference between Nota and abstaining.
Oh, right? Yeah, abstaining means you just don't know the candidates.
Right.
If you're just walking into the Libertarian Party for the convention, you just don't know who they are, you can abstain, and that's always a reasonable choice. Yeah.
Somebody who has a strong opinion can go ahead and vote. Abstaining, that way you don't destroy the, you know, you don't put Nota in.
Yeah. If you don't know who the candidates are, you can just abstain.
Yeah.
And that's a reasonable thing to do for sure. And I mean, if I end up not knowing the candidates, all running for one of the positions, I'll abstain just because it's not fair to vote against or for somebody that I have no clue who they are. So hopefully that won't have to happen, but if I end up not knowing any of the candidates, that's kind of what my choice is. I don't want to be an uninformed voter. That's definitely not what I am. So but yeah, that's when you would do that. Luckily, hopefully I'll know all the candidates this time around.
Yeah, knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
I hope there are, because I there should be competition and let people make a real choice, not between me and Nota. Oh, and I will say this on behalf of Nota. I'm going to try to be generous. Nota, given Nota's history of deviancy, is a lot more fun at parties.
That is, I can see how that would be true. Gavin, if people want to talk to you further and maybe query you more, is there a way that they can do that?
Absolutely. So if there's, and I gave you my personal email because I wanted to separate the campaign from the treasurer. But if there are questions about the party or about the treasurer or official party business, then you can email me at treasurer@lpcolorado.org. But if it's personal issues or about the campaign or not, not official party business, then feel free to use my personal email, which is gavin@nocolive.com.
Gavin at Noco, N-O-C-C-O?
Yes, NOCOLIVE.com.
L-I-Z. Okay, great. And as long as we've got you here, we're gonna ask. We always get questions about the convention, and so I just want to ask a couple of quick questions about the convention because you mentioned ticket sales and such. Just real quick, because the convention is March 12th. Do people have to buy tickets to go to the convention?
No, for official business, that's open to libertarian members. So I don't know if we can't or we don't, but either way, we don't charge for the business piece of it. But there's also definitely a social aspect to it that typically starts later in the afternoon, and that does have a fee associated with it. There's also for sponsors, there's tables that sponsors can buy. And if an individual wants to buy a table for their group, for a group of people, then they can also buy a table. So there's different fee structures. But if you just want to show up for the business piece of it, then no, there's no cost associated with that.
Great, because this is something we're trying to get through to everybody, is that people think that the convention costs, and the convention does not cost. For the business, if you want to go and participate as a libertarian, it is free. The social things, that's separate than the actual libertarian business, correct?
That's correct, yeah, and that's going to be, again, Nota is more fun at parties, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stay very late that night because we're leaving for spring break the next day. But that social, that night's going to be a lot of fun. The people who are doing that stuff are planning something really pretty impressive. So I definitely think it'd be worth attending that. It'll be worth the money.
And if they want to know about that, they can visit about that on the LP Colorado webpage where the convention page is, because they have a convention link to that, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's right there on the top. They've got a button directly for the convention. Yeah, you can get all the details right there. And you can register and pay for it all right there also.
Now, that being said, before we end this, where are you going on spring break?
We are going to Cancun. It's my son's senior year. He's a baseball player, and he's got a couple guys on his baseball team that are going. So it's like a few families, and we're all just going to go stay in Cancun for a few days. What
position does Nathan play?
Nathan's a catcher and also a bit of a shortstop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he gets beat up a lot. Catchers get beat up a lot.
Yeah.
Hit with bats and stepped on and all sorts of terrible things.
Yeah. Well, that is impressive. And Ross, do you have any other questions for Gavin?
No, yeah, that's very informative. I definitely thought, yeah.
And then thank you very much for taking the time and driving and introducing us to your family. It was great meeting everybody, and we look forward to meeting hopefully other candidates. But Gavin, it's wonderful that you took time out of your evening to talk to us. We truly do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for your flexibility with the format. I wish I was at home and we could have done all this over video in a more stable setting. So I'm sorry that didn't happen, but I definitely wanted to talk to you. So thanks for your flexibility with all this. And I hope I get a chance to meet you both at the convention.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. And I guess we're out, right, Ross?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks so much for your time. Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Thanks.